This whole story starts with two Chevy trucks. I think one was a 69, one was a 70, one was a roller, had zero engine or transmission parts at all, and it was barely held together with like baling wire. And the other one had a 6-cylinder with a 3-speed on the column. And it looked promising. You know, it wasn't very much to see, but a friend of mine had bought it from a local auction that had like over 100 cars. I have a few cars from that auction as well that I will show you in a future video. You haven't even seen it yet because they're rough. They're about the same shape as these two trucks here, but I have plans to do something with them in the future. Now, $800 is the initial investment. I bought these sight unseen. He delivered them for me, dropped them off at my house, so there's no extra expense there. $800 right out the gate. That's where we start with this thing. Again, the one that had an engine in it, I thought, you know, we could try to make it run. And it was actually not that bad. And once we had the starter solenoid and a battery cable in it, it pretty much fired right up with a little bit of gas. Give her a couple old pats. Wow. Fired right up. All right, I'm gonna push the clutch in. Ooh, just kidding, I was kidding. I was joking. Stop. And by the time we got done with it, we'd probably really only spent close to $100. And that might be pushing it because I don't think I spent that much, but I'm just gonna round up to make this video easy. That puts us at $900 for the entirety of this truck. But here's the fun part. I actually took the yellow truck, the gold and white one, and sold the tailgate off of it for $200. So that brings our investment back down to $700. So we're actually in the positive at this point. So what I did was, I did like any other logical person would do, and take these trucks and list them on Marketplace. This was in September of 2022, so it was shortly after I posted the video. I had the bright idea. I was like, if I can get somebody to trade me something, I want to see how far can I take this trade. It was a long game. I mean, it took a lot of waiting, basically, and you're going to find that out based on the timeline of this video, how much effort it takes to trade up vehicles and really just having to be patient and wait for the right deal. That's because I listed these trucks in September of 2022 and did not get this trade offer until the following February in 2023. That's a long time just for these trucks to sit there listed. I even had a poster for like $1,000. It took this long to actually get a trade offer, and that's what we got was this truck here. We traded both of these trucks with an initial investment of $700 for this. This is the 1974 Ford F100 4-wheel drive. Now you guys probably saw this video. It was an awesome video. I really loved this truck. It was just really rough. It was a 360 4-speed 4-wheel drive with 38-inch like giant mud tires on it. It was really rough and really ratty, but it just made sense for the video and I had a blast working on it. So we had to do a lot of stuff to it. I mean, we had to pull the valve cover off because they had rotted through, had to buy new valve covers. The rocker arms were rusted solid, had to go through and tear them apart completely and fix all that. We had a bad starter, power steering pump, flat tires, no brakes. I ended up having to rebuild the car, but I'm looking at a list of things because it was so much stuff. Rebuilt the carburetor, spark plugs, new starter, valve covers again, oil change, wheel cylinders, master cylinder, brake hoses, and a power steering pump. And by the time that was all done, we probably spent around $500. I wish I had kept like exact numbers, but that was based on like estimates of what the cost of it would be now. So spent around $500. After that, we went off-roading. We had a lot of fun with it. The thing shot a giant fireball out of the carburetor in the middle of the woods. Start, please. Ah! Start, please. Ah! Holy moly! Kind of scary. I think I had one brake at the end of it because I don't remember what I did, but I had a brake hose going from the brake line directly to a wheel cylinder. It was really sketchy nonetheless. It stopped the truck enough. And you could only go like maybe 10 minutes without the thing running out of power steering fluid because it was running out of that hydraulic assist ram. And on those, if you don't have any fluid at all, it will not work. It's not like a regular one where you still have a gearbox that's easy to turn. This one, no. There was no chance. And the battery didn't charge. The alternator was dead. And it was just a nightmare altogether. But it was still a cool truck. And I got a lot of comments saying, no, it's a 79. It's not a 74. It had a front clip swap. I explained that in the video, but a lot of people just did not get that. So anyway, that's neither here nor there. So after the $500, we were at a total investment of $1,200 right then and there. So I listed it on March 7th, 2023, and I was able to get a trade offer in March 25th of the same year. So that's where this little truck comes in. And this one had zero to do with the YouTube channel. Nothing happened with this truck on YouTube because I didn't have it long enough to even make a video. So this was a 78 Ford F100 long wheelbase. This was probably the record for the shortest duration of ownership of any vehicle I've ever owned. The one picture I have of it personally was when it broke down on me in the middle of the road. That was because I think the carburetor, the float stuck and it just shut off on me. And thankfully, we were able to get it back to home, and it actually ran and drove pretty nicely. It was a 351, had a 2-barrel in it, and rebuilt rear brakes, but the booster really didn't work that great, so it was kind of hard to drive. It had a 373 spool in it, so it was really fun and easy to do donuts. The tires on it were decent. Interior, not so great, but overall, the body was really straight and really solid on it, and everything worked. And it had zero exhaust, so it was super loud. It was super fun, and it was a pretty cool truck for somebody to do something with. I spent $0 on it. I did absolutely nothing to it. I started going around looking at marketplace listings and saying, what would be a worthy trade? You know, who would like think this would be something that they would find interesting or worth the money? I kept kind of like poking towards Fords because it seemed like the Fords were doing all the work here. They were carrying the load, and I was looking for, you know, specifically Ford stuff, but I didn't want to do another truck. I really wasn't wanting a truck. So I probably sent out 5 or 6 trade offers, and this is the one that stuck. Well, I traded the 4-wheel drive for this 78 long bed, 351 automatic, 373 locker in the rear. Somebody put a good set of gears in it, but you didn't see a video on it because it runs and drives. I'm like, what the heck do I do with this thing? So I just started getting on Marketplace, asking if anybody wanted to trade, and I found the car we're going to look at right now. I got the truck on March 25th of 2023, and I got the trade offer deal on April 1st of 2023. So it didn't last long at all. So our total investment, again, is still $1,200. But that's where the next car comes in. This is our 1967 Ford LTD. This thing was pretty nice. It was an older restoration, had a ton of Bondo in it. The clear coat was peeling off of it. The floor pans were actually pretty nice. Somebody had replaced those, and it was very solid. The trunk was a little rotted out, and it just had some quirks here and there. Super dry rotted tires. Under the hood was really clean though. They had taken the time to detail the engine bay, paint the valve covers, the intake. I don't think the engine was ever pulled, but it honestly was a really nice car. Had a new carburetor on it, new fuel filter. I think it had a new fuel pump on it, if I remember correctly, and just a couple odds and ends that really made this car worthy of the trade. So I traded even for this car, drove it up on the trailer. It didn't have any brakes or anything, but it did take gear, and I was very proud of it. It was actually a really, really awesome car, and I was excited that I was fortunate enough to trade for it. So $1,200 into this car, and we're driving home, have it on the trailer, we're making our way back. The back glass just decided to fly out of the car because I did not realize that it was only duct taped in. And with the windows rolled down, it, you know, just went flying. So that was great. You know, it was a kind of a heartbreaking moment because I guess I just don't have good luck with back glasses because this kind of goes back to the Charger, you know, the green Charger from Oklahoma, middle of the road somewhere in deep Oklahoma, 2-lane highway. We lost the back glass out of that one. And then I was with a buddy of mine. He went to go get a Pontiac Le Mans. Same thing, back glass flew out of it. And this was my third experience with a back glass flying out of a car. So like, well, you know what? Maybe I'm just not destined to have glass in vehicles. So I actually ended up finding a glass for it. It was 3 hours one way to get this back glass. So by the time I got back, obviously 6 hours worth of driving. Also on my way back, I bought the MGB car that you saw that I did a video on. I bought that on the way back home. So you're factoring another extra hour or so. So, you know, maybe 7 or 8 hours of just straight on the road doing things, and none of it got filmed. So it was just a lot of work at the end of the day. We ended up getting that. So that was a $200 right there. So there's our $1,400 investment. I ended up going through wheel cylinders, master cylinder, fuel tank and sending unit, new carpet, exhaust manifold gaskets, installation kit for that rear glass. Didn't touch the tires, did just some little odds and ends, did a nice little clear coat, and it turned out looking really nice. The total investment on that one was $1,200, and that totaled up to $2,400 of our total dollar amount. So $1,200 spent on the car, $1,200 is what we basically traded it for, $2,400 total. I listed it on Marketplace and I was able to sell it for $5,500. So that was quite the profit right there. So to do a little math here, our gross profit was $4,900. That's not counting any of the expenses. That's not counting any of the things that we had to buy or do anything like that. Man, that's pretty good to start from a piece of junk. Terrible trucks. I mean, just absolute garbage trucks to go into something that's really nice, really fun to drive, really enjoyable car, selling it for $5,500. So once we count it and factor in our expenses, we had a net profit of $2,500. So that kind of goes to show you what you can accomplish by not really spending a lot of money and still making money at the end of it. You know, we started out with basically nothing and just had to be patient. Wait for that right trade offer and you eventually will come out with something actually pretty respectable in the end. I had $5,500 in my pocket. I was on Marketplace looking for something. I wanted to buy something with this money, and what I found was this. So this is a 1989 Dodge D150, and I bought this for my wife to drive. Now you're going to be like, you know, it's kind of cool. It looks like a basic truck. Not quite. Not quite. So I took the little bit of extra money I had and I bought this truck because it was a pro-charged short bed. 360 Magnum, has a mild cam, headers, full exhaust, X-pipe, really nice. But it had a Terminator X from Holley, all sorts of great fuel control systems on it. And he said it was tuned for 10 PSI. Haven't really tested all that out yet. Still trying to work out some bugs on it. And it was lowered, had new wheels and tires, had a 46 RE, which is the electronic overdrive from Chrysler. So again, you know, the Terminator X Max controls all of that. 9 1/4 rear end in it, sway bars, trans cooler, intercooler, everything. You name it, this truck basically has it. Oh, and not to mention this, AC, hot heat, all of it works. It's fantastic, and that's why I bought it. I really bought it for the air conditioning, but the Pro Charger was just kind of a nice little addition, you know what I'm saying? But again, I bought this for my wife because I wanted her to have something to enjoy and drive. She actually has taken it to a car show before, and she loves the truck. So the plan is with this thing is to, you know, kind of fix a few things on it. Has some quirks, some weird odds and ends. It needs some tuning help and fixing some things that it just needs to get to be where it's a fantastic truck. It's a great truck, but I want it to be fantastic because when your wife's driving something, you don't want it to break down. To kind of wrap all this thing up, we bought the truck for $7,000. Now you're probably like, that doesn't sound right. How did you manage to get this truck for $7,000? Well, sometimes you just happen upon a listing where somebody's really ready to move on. So a lot of times you'll see them start with a high price and it has a major price cut. You know how it says, like, it'll show you the progression of the price changes. I think he had started out at like 13, dropped it to 10, and then was at like 8, and I offered him 7, and he, you know, took it because he was ready to move on to his next project. That's just really how things work. I know it sounds unbelievable, but I promise you it was exactly how it went, and it worked perfectly. So at the end of the day, we only had to tack on just a little bit extra to make sure we could get a nice truck, and it worked out perfectly. I'm excited for the truck. I think it's going to be a great project, and you know, it goes to show you where you can start basically from nothing and actually have something. You can have something, guys. So this is kind of just showing you the progression of what my plan was. I wanted to kind of detail this and show you that you can do the exact same thing, and without having to spend a whole bunch of money, you can trade up and trade up and trade up and get something cool out of it. So thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed this video. This is just a real quick one, but if you want to, go ahead and get your t-shirts and stickers down in the link below, and don't forget to subscribe to the second channel so you do not miss out on more content just like this. Thank you guys, and I'll see you in the next one.